Hi, my name is Walter Lesh, and welcome to another episode of Online in Rocky River and Beyond. Today we're going to look at how to Zoom with Rocky River Public Library. There are a couple of ways to join a Zoom meeting. Typically, to go into a meeting with Rocky River Public Library, you'll click on the link that you receive in your Zoom meeting invitation through your email. You open up that email message shortly before the time of the meeting and you click on the link. Assuming you already have Zoom installed, it may ask you a question about whether you want to choose a different application like it is here, but I'm just going to say open link, and it's already using Zoom. So now Zoom will start, and it's asking me if I want to join with video. I'll say yes. And now I'm waiting for the meeting host to let me in. The other way to join a meeting is by writing down the meeting ID number and the passcode and going to Zoom directly and joining a meeting. You don't have to sign in, but there are a few features that you get in Zoom by signing in. But I'm just going to click Join a Meeting, and now it's asking for a meeting ID. I've written that information down. This would be useful if you were going to be on a different machine than where you got the email, or if you knew if you had to use somebody's tablet and it wasn't yours but they had Zoom on it. So you can do that. You put in the meeting ID, you name your presence in the meeting, so to speak, and you click Join. Now it asks for the passcode. I put that in and I click Join Meeting. Here again, do I want to join with video? I'll say yes. And now I'm waiting to be let into the meeting. Here I am in a meeting, and I've noticed that most of my meeting controls have disappeared. I can simply move my mouse to see them, and then after a few seconds, they will disappear again. Or I can press Alt on my keyboard, and that will keep the meeting controls open whether I touch my mouse or not. I'm going to go through all of the controls from the upper right-hand corner to the upper left, and then everything across the bottom of the screen. So in the right-hand corner at the top, I have speaker view, and that switches me between speaker view, whoever is speaking becomes the big picture, and gallery view, where each person is assigned an individual block. Next to that is the full screen button. When I go full screen, it basically takes away my title bar. If I had the window not maximized, it would take over the whole screen, including over top of the taskbar. And I prefer to have my window maximized. In this case, I've hidden the taskbar so that it gives me a little more room, but I'll show you why here in a second. If I am in full screen mode and I click on participants, then I see a list of participants, and when I go to chat, I see a little chat area, but they are basically floaty windows. I can treat them like any window. I can maximize them, I can move them, I can resize them, and I can minimize them. I prefer to have them open as panels that stay stuck to the right-hand side of the screen. So let me close those and exit full screen. And now when I click participants and chat, they open up as panels that stay attached to the right-hand side. Above the word chat and below unmute me or mute me, I get a two-headed arrow. There's a faint line there, and I can drag up and down with my mouse and basically adjust the size of the two panels relative to each other. I can move on my entry in the participants list and click more and rename myself or add a profile picture if I want. I can also unmute myself from here. And at the bottom of the chat, or at the bottom of the participants box, I can also raise my hand. a raised hand appears in the participants list, it also appears on the host's screen as a little raised hand up in the corner up here. Okay? So if I raise my hand, it shows up in both of those places for the host. For everyone else, I don't see that for myself. Okay? And I can lower my hand, at the bottom as well. In the chat box, it depends on the settings whether people can chat with each other or only to the host. The host can always send messages to everyone or to any individual in the meeting. A setting determines for the host whether other people are allowed to private message each other. I'm not the host, so all I can do is send a message either to everyone or to the iPad host, which is the lady from the National Portrait Gallery. I'm going to type a message to everyone. All I do is type it, and then I press enter on my keyboard, and now everyone will see that in the meeting, will see that message that says, hey there, from me to everyone. If I want those panels to disappear, I can click the buttons and they go away. In the chat window, I do want to point out that there is a file button where I could go and get a file to share out via chat to everyone. You can also put hyperlinks in here that people could click and go out online with. And there's a more button here that allows me to save the chat if the speaker permits it. I'm going to turn that off now. Next to participants, there is a tiny up caret. I see the number of participants in the meeting here, and I also have a little up pointing caret that would allow me to go out and invite someone else. I can do it via contacts or via an email. It's giving the meeting ID here and the invite link, and if the invite link already has the passcode in it, if I copy the meeting invitation and send it out, it will have both the meeting ID and the passcode in it, as well as the link. At the bottom now, I have my mute and unmute buttons for audio and video, start stop video. I also have little up pointing carets next to them. If I click the up pointing caret, it allows me to choose a different audio source, or I can choose a different speaker if I have multiple speaker options. I can test my speaker and microphone. You really don't want to be doing that during a meeting. That's why they give you the opportunity to join with or without video, to test your microphone and speakers beforehand. That way you know whether they work as you enter the meeting. I also can go to audio settings here and change some more things here. Same thing with video. Along with changing to a different camera and going to the settings for video, I also have choose virtual background available. When I click that, if I'm signed in, I can use any of the virtual backgrounds that Zoom gives to you. In this case, there are some that are like little videos. If I choose Northern Lights here, now they're sort of floating behind me. As long as you have a uniform background, a uniformly colored background, they work pretty well. If you don't, they get a little weird and you disappear partially and things like that. You can see if you move fast, they're not as good, but it's just, me sitting in front of a blank wall in this case. I can choose to use one of these filters, or I can choose to add a picture of my own that I've put onto the machine. In this case, I'm going to go back to none. Now, in some accounts, you also get the option of using video filters, which are more like little, like in Instagram when you put the bunny ears on somebody on your own head when you're recording something. It's like that. So you can have a bandit mask or ears, or you can have an I-95 mask attached to your face now. Some of them work better than others, especially if you turn. If you're just going like this, side to side, they all work pretty well. But if you turn, some of them work better than others. So you'll have to experiment with that. Past the participants and chat buttons, I have a share screen button, and that will allow me to share different things from the computer out to everyone in the meeting. I can share my screen, in this case it's already got Zoom on it. I can share a whiteboard, and everyone in the meeting can be permitted to annotate or draw on the whiteboard. Could be fantastic for collaboration that way. I can show what's on a wire-connected iPhone or iPad to the meeting in real time. You can see someone working their iPhone during a meeting that way. I can show other windows that I have open, and I can show basically anything from there. I will, for instance, share the whiteboard for a second. And now everyone in the meeting will see this big whiteboard that we can use. And then when you want to stop sharing, you click stop sharing and it goes back to the meeting. Here again, that's a host defined setting. Some hosts will allow one participant to share at a time. Some will allow multiple participants to share. Some may not allow sharing. But that's something that the host of the meeting gets to decide. After the share screen button, I have a record button. If the host permits it, participants can even record the Zoom meeting for future reference. And there is also a reactions button. Depending on which version of Zoom you have, you may only see the clap or thumbs up button. And the buttons just sort of stay up there for a little while and then they disappear. If you have a more recently updated version of Zoom, then you will also have love, I love that, I'm happy about something, laughing so hard I'm crying. There's a sort of surprise open mouth button and also a celebration or ta-da button as Zoom calls it. So those simply appear on the screen for a little while and then they disappear. Let's see what happens if I try to, it replaces the other one, right? So one's up there and then after a little while it disappears. And then finally at the far lower right hand side I have a leave button, and that would allow me to leave the meeting. I'm asked to confirm in case it was a misclick, and then I decide to leave the meeting. And I go back to my main Zoom window. I can ask to join the meeting again. I would simply put in the information. If I accidentally did this or I had to do it just for a couple of minutes, I can put in the information again. I can choose whether to connect with audio or video. I click join. It asks for that passcode again. And I have been put back into the waiting room and I'm being asked to, it's asking the host if I can rejoin the meeting. On the host screen, it just says admit or cancel. And so now I'm joining again. I will join with computer audio and then mute it immediately and then make my screen big again. And now I'm back into the meeting. I'm in this meeting, but I have minimized my meeting window. And it shows up as a little floaty box on my screen. I get the choice to unmute or unmute my audio or start my video and vice versa. So if I unmute my audio, I can then speak to the meeting participants. I can still hear them. And I can also decide to hide the video. So if I hide the video, now all I have are those little quick buttons for showing the video. In other words, a small view of the meeting speaker, the speaking person. And I can also exit minimized view and open it back up again. And now we see the meeting again. And I'm back. I just wanted to take a quick minute to explain the differences between using a desktop version of Zoom and the Zoom app on, say, an iPad or an iPhone. On an iPad, the controls are mostly at the top, and the switch between gallery view and speaker view and the leave button are in the upper left-hand corner. The meeting information is under the Zoom symbol, and you touch that and it opens up and shows you the meeting information and passcode. The mute and unmute buttons are here. The start and stop video buttons are here, as well as share content and participants. Participants is a floating panel, but it looks mostly the same, right? Under the More button, you have the important features of the reactions. The floating chat panel is here, and you can close that. So they open and close a lot. And then also under More, you have meeting settings, minimize meeting, and that important feature of raising your hand. And that shows up on the host's computer. It also shows up under participants. I just wanted to point out the distinctions between the iPad and the iPhone. The controls are mostly the same. It's just that the main controls are at the bottom on an iPhone, like they are for PC, and the leave button and the meeting information button appear at the top. Because my device has multiple cameras, I still have a way to switch between the two cameras also at the top. That's really the difference. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Online in Rocky River and Beyond. If you need help with your devices, your programs, and even Zoom, give us a call at the library. See you next time. Thanks.